Hello everyone, back tuning into today's video. Going to have a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days. For today's video, we'll also have a look at CFS V2 for the next month. That'll take us towards the end of July. So it's really warm now. We've got high pressure dominating the weather. It's going to bring heat wave conditions this week. We're going to see temperatures into the low 30s Celsius. So that's getting on for 90 Fahrenheit, some parts of the country this week. And also very dry. That's the big talking point, perhaps even more so than the temperatures. The fact that in some places, there's been no measurable rainfall whatsoever the whole of June. So some places will get to the end of the month, because there's not going to be any measurable rainfall in some areas before the end of the month either. We're going to be talking about a totally universally dry month for some stations in the UK this June. A very, very dry month indeed. Suffice to say, if this was to go on into July and August, we really would be in for a very dry, hot summer indeed. But of course, it's very early days still for this summer. We can't say that this will still be ongoing by the time we get through to the end of July into August, for example. But certainly notably dry over the past 4 weeks across most parts of England and Wales in particular. And also very warm, and the temperature side, I think, going to be stepping up a couple of years this week, because it is going to be a hot week coming up many parts of the country. So I'll get on with your video in a moment, but before I go on with that, just going to say big thank you to our latest patrons and donors. So this is the Gaz Weather Vids Patreon page. You can come here and become a patron for Gaz Weather Vids. And at the moment, we're up to 18 patrons. We've got a new patron, and I'm going to say big thank you to Philip Meek. Big thank you to Philip for becoming Gaz Weather Vids' latest patron. You can also make a donation to Gaz Weather Vids via the Gaz Weather Vids PayPal page. This is it. So we've had a new donor via PayPal. Daniel Jackson has become Gaz Weather Vids' latest donor. So a big thank you to Philip for becoming Gaz Weather Vids' latest patron. Big thank you to Daniel for becoming Gaz Weather Vids' latest donor. So I'll leave the link to both of these pages in the description box at YouTube, and also linking to these pages from all of the pages at Gaz Weather Vids, the website. It's helping us to pay for our content, helping us to keep everything free of charge. So big thank you to everybody for doing that. And we will give you a shout out in the videos if you want one. Not everybody does. Some people want to remain anonymous. That's absolutely fine. So just leave a little note if you'd like to remain anonymous when you make your donation. But again, big thank you to all of the patrons and donors for their very kind support for Gaz Weather Vids, helping us to keep the website and the updates completely free of charge. Thank you to everybody for doing that. Right, let's get on with the video now. I've been struggling to get this done this morning, so I'm going to try and rattle through it as quickly as I can. So we'll start off with a 500 millibar high anomaly flowchart. Penn State University. Got the ECMGF here on the top. GFS, have a look at the modes on the bottom. 500 millibars, 8 V is an area in the atmosphere, high pressure, low pressure, up being moved around by jet stream running above, let's translate to low pressure, rate to high pressure. We've got above average heights in the 7 to 10 day time frame, centred to the northeast of the country, with below average heights around Greenland. The jet stream is going like that, so on the warm side of the jet with the ECMWF, the only thing that's happening is that pressure is weakening to our south. So that would be starting to try and threaten thunderstorms to southern parts of the country in the 7 to 10 day time frame. However, I have to emphasise high pressure is still largely in control here up to around the 5th of July. So there would still be a lot of dry weather even then. It's just trying to turn a little bit more unstable, maybe a little bit more thundering down in the south. This is the GFS, and it shows a large area of above average height centred almost over the top of the country. So it's very similar to the ECM. The low pressure is up there with the jet stream as well. The only difference is that pressure is weaker further south. So that's less of a risk of thunderstorms in the 7 to 10 day time frame. There's less of a risk of storms in the south. There would be loads and loads of dry weather, and it would be very warm to hot with that kind of setup indeed. GFS ensembles are looking like this. We're looking at Edinburgh today. The red line here is the 30-year upper air temperature average for Edinburgh. The next week, very warm indeed, much warmer than average. And these warm conditions at the slightly lower extent continue into the second week as well. We do see a slight drop in the temperature taking place from where we start off right now. We see the temperatures only really slowly lowering, but essentially the next 2 weeks is warmer than average, and in the next week substantially warmer than average indeed. Also very dry, no measurable rainfall coming up whatsoever up to the 1st of July. And then through the first week of July, yes, there are a few rainfall spikes, but not many of them. Very, very dry ensemble that for Edinburgh. Temperature anomalies are looking like this, substantially warmer than average of the UK and Ireland. Most parts of Central and Western Europe are coming out warmer than average as well in the week from the 25th through to the 3rd, 25th of June through to the 3rd of July. Precipitation anomalies substantially drier than average for the north. You'll notice there is a little bit of precipitation being forecast down in the south. It's closer to average in the south compared to these very dry conditions up in the north. That is almost certainly the model picking up on some sort of thundery showers or thunderstorm development down in the south. But again, it is they look very scattered, and overall many parts of the country are looking substantially drier than average for the week from the 25th of June today through to the 3rd of July. Right, so the GFS looks like that for Thursday. High pressure is over top of the country. It's dominating. It'll be very warm, possibly even hot, and almost universally dry across the country as well. These hot and dry conditions continue into the end of the week and the weekend. This is Saturday. You'll notice by Saturday we are lowering the pressure around the Bay of Biscay and across the northern parts of France. So that's a thundery low. It's a heat low that's moved out of Spain. It's picking up moisture over the Bay of Biscay, so picking up humidity and probably developing thunderstorms across southern and western parts of France. Those storms want to try and push northwards. Will the high pressure allow that thundery low to push northwards? Well, it gets a little bit closer on Sunday, 1st of July, but not really. High pressure remains dominant close to the UK. I suppose pressure has leaked a little bit in the south, so there might be some thunderstorms across southern parts of the country by the end of the weekend and this time next week. But really high pressure is still ongoing and in control through most parts of the country, and that continues into the middle part of next week as well. So running up towards day 10 now, with high pressure still dominating. It is starting to drift a little bit further northwards, however. It's starting to become centred between sort of Greenland and Scandinavia up here, so beginning to start to push up towards and become more of a northern blocking type feature, but pushing more towards the Arctic, which if it was to continue would probably start to allow low pressure to attack from the south and from the west. But certainly up to day 10, which is Thursday the 5th of July, it's very dry and very warm. Now, just a little bit beyond that, what this particular run of the GFS does, this is a long way out, it's beyond day 10, but what this GFS run does, it moves that high pressure even further north, so it is a proper northern blocking type feature now, and so this is starting to allow low pressure to develop to the south and the west. That looks very thundery potentially, and probably still very warm up to that point, but gradually I think we see thunderstorms beginning to break out, and then actually it does go into quite an unsettled spell of weather in the extended range through this second week of July. That looks properly unsettled and a lot cooler as well. It's a really long way off. I probably shouldn't be showing you these charts. But in the second week of July, that does produce genuine rainfall across many parts of the country and probably quite cool temperatures as well. Very unlikely to come off as that is shown, but it is obviously an option that may occur. So this is the ECMWF. This is how the ECM is looking for Thursday. Again, the high pressure centred over the country, dry, hot, sunny weather persisting through to the end of the week too. That's the weekend. That's Saturday. Still seeing lots of high pressure dominating, very warm to hot. And pretty dry as well. This is Sunday. There's that thundery low around Biscay. It's a little bit closer to us than on the GFS, so that's probably threatening a greater risk of thunderstorms through the channel and on to the south coast. And then by Monday, by this time next week, actually the low pressure is just out to the southwest of the country, so that's perhaps bringing the risk of some thunderstorms to other parts of England, Wales and Ireland. Scotland would be mostly dry. Into the extended range, that's how the ECM looks up to day 10. Again, it's gradually trying to turn a little bit more unsettled, so by day 10 maybe seeing some more persistent rain, particularly across the northern and western parts of the country. But again, I have to emphasise this is a long way off, and in any sort of pattern change there is uncertainty about it. So if you're waiting for rain, it does look as though that will give you some rain through the first week of July, probably initially from thunderstorms and maybe from some wet weather moving in from the Atlantic. But I do have to keep emphasising that it is in the unreliable time frame of the model, so it's by no means certain that we will get these thunderstorms and then maybe more general rain through that first week of July. Let's wait and see. CFS V2 finally, so again these are 500 millibar high anomalies. They're broken down into week periods. The first week period will take us from the 25th of June today through to the 1st of July. We have this large area of above average height centred over top of the country, below average heights way to our north with the jet stream up there as well, so no problems with the jet. We're under high pressure. It's going to be dry. It's going to be hot and it's going to be sunny in the week ahead. That's week 2. It takes us to the 2nd to the 8th of July. Now, at this point, there are a few hints, as we've just seen, within the shorter range model output, but we might be starting to wobble the atmosphere a little bit, and at the very least, perhaps produce a few sort of thunderstorms or thundery downpours. The CFS isn't interested in that at all. It just wants to have this large area of above average heights still centred over top of the country, with the jet stream remaining to our north. So if that came off, it would be very dry and hot through that first week of July as well. That's the uncertainty that I was just talking about. If you are waiting for rain, I know a lot of you are now, farmers, gardeners, growers, a lot of you are waiting for rain. So it looks a little bit better from the ECM and the GFS through this first week of July, but there is so much uncertainty, and the CFS is highlighting that very well. It just wants to keep things dry and hot through that first week of July. Then we go through to week 3, which is the 9th to the 15th of July. Again, above average heights are over the top of the country, so no real difference in the overall weather pattern. The jet stream is still doing something like that. These are really classic charts, I have to say. Going up to the middle of July, there would be further mainly dry and very hot conditions too. And then that is week 4, which is the 16th to the 22nd of July. The above average heights are still close to us, but maybe going a little bit more to the east, possibly weakening a bit and perhaps starting to allow some sort of thundery attack to be attempted anyway from the southwest. But even then, it's only very slight hints that it might begin to turn a bit more unsettled at that point. Essentially, for the next 4 weeks, CFS wants to keep high pressure dominant. So temperature anomalies in the next week, the CFS V2 are hot. They're coming out substantially hotter than average. Week 2 temperature anomalies are also coming out substantially and significantly hotter than average. Week 3 temperature anomalies, again substantially hotter than average. And then week 4, which by this point we're up to the 16th to the 22nd of July, and we're still coming out substantially warmer than average, maybe not quite as hot as it is through those first 3 weeks, but even so, I mean, we're still talking about well over a degree above average. So hot weather, hot July coming up if the CFS is right. And then finally, rainfall the week ahead, 25th of June to the 1st of July, looking really, really dry. And week 2 is also looking very dry as well across many parts of the country. So dry, hot conditions into early July. Still hinting at being a bit drier than average into week 3 as well. Week 4 does go closer to average with the precipitation, so it implies we may be starting to see some sort of thundery attack taking place from the southwest, but it's such a long way off, and I think we have to say that the CFS wants to have a really hot July. That looks hot and dry July. That looks very much a way the CFS is going for. Bear in mind the GFS and the ECM, the shorter range, wants to possibly wobble the atmosphere a bit next week and produce some thunder, and that will be particularly so for the south and for the southwestern part of the country as well. So, well, for the next few days we're going to be having a heat wave, going to be hot and dry. Next week, I think the chance of thunderstorms in the southwest will increase, but I suspect they'll be quite scattered, and I would suspect many places are going to have another very warm to hot week next week as well. But we'll wait and see on that. We'll be firming up about it in the videos in the next few days. Right, finally got it done. That's around the 4th or 5th attempt in the past hour, so I've finally got it done. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.